The New Deal program, National Youth Administration, aka NYA. The NYA was established to provide work and education targeted towards adult children between the ages of 16 to 25 years old. It was based off financial aid and U.S. citizenship. The NYA offered courses in arithmetic, reading, and writing. The purpose of the NYA was to provide work for the unemployed and uneducated youth who were not attending school and provided education for the financially unstable students. There are two types of NYA programs. First was the Works Project program. The Works Project program trained the youth who were not attending school and unemployed. The Student Aid program provided work-study training for students in high school, college, and graduate students. To give a little history of the NYA, it was established with the Works Progress Administration, aka the WPA, on June 26, 1935. It was funded by the Emergency Relief Appropriation Act of 1935. The NYA was established during the first term of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Roosevelt appointed the Deputy Administrator of the WPA, Aubrey Williams, to become the Executive Director of the NYA. It was operated from 1935 to 1939 for WPA. The Reorganization Act of 1939 transferred the NYA from the WPA to the Federal Security Agency. In 1942, the NYA was once again transferred to the War Manpower Commission, aka the WMC. The NYA collapsed in 1942.
My father told me, which I knew, but he told my sister and I that he couldn't afford to send both of us to college. So I said, that's okay, because remember, I graduated in 42 and Pearl Harbor was in December 41, so I knew I was going to go into service. So I said, well, let Betty go. Well, it's not that I had to let my father, that was what he's going to do anyway. Because I grew up where, you did what they told you to do. They didn't give you a whole array of choices.
But that was very interesting, though, that he wanted to educate his daughter.
He wanted both of us, but he couldn't afford
Yes.
it. And I guess if I did anything, I was one that pulled out because I said, I'm going to go into service.
Okay.
And so she went to it was called Bowie Normal School. It was a state teachers college down in Bowie, Maryland. And it was a segregated state. So she went off to there. The thing that I remember in those days was that the room, board, and tuition was $26 a month.
Whoa.
And my father strained to make that. Well, I went on out to Detroit. Well, first I spent a summer in an NYA shop, the National Youth Administration. This is Roosevelt's.
And will you explain what that is? The
National Youth Administration. There were a whole bunch of those things that came out. You remember, to try to change the economy, which was going into after the crash of Wall Street and everything in '29. The '30s, Roosevelt came in and had the NRA, the National Recovery Act. Then there was the National Youth Administration, WPA, Work Projects Administration, all those government things that gave people employment and training. And so I went in the NYA shop and I took metal lathe, I took tool and die training.
The benefits, or short-term changes. The NYA helped 4.5 million youth find work and education altogether. It helped 327,000 high school and college students, and they were paid $6 to $40 a month for work studies at their school. It helped 155,000 girls and boys from relief families, and they were paid $5 to $25 a month for part-time jobs. The NYA contributed growth of the American economy during a desperate time of history, World War II. Is the NYA still around today? No, it is not. The NYA office closed in 1942. With World War II becoming an issue, many youth Americans were starting to be trained for war instead of jobs. In 1942 to 1943, all of NYA activity that did not contribute to the war was eradicated, causing the downfall of the NYA. There are similar programs to the NYA, or were, and this was the Civilian Conservation Corps. The Civilian Conservation Corps was a public relief program from 1933 to 1942 for unemployed unmarried men. It targeted for men from ages 18 to 23. The difference of the CCC is that it only applied to men, while the NYA was applied to both men and women. The NYA will probably not be done for good. The NYA has been reconsidered lately due to the amount of unemployed youth that is increasing year by year.
Ladies and gentlemen, 6 years ago, we were faced with the possible loss of a generation of young people. The NYA was democracy's answer. Today, hundreds of thousands of those youngsters have been saved from the ravages of idleness. They're to be found in all branches of industry. They're playing a vital part in the production of those tools which are destined to defend our security. Each year they enter the labor market, nearly 2 million strong, to do their bit in the battle for democracy. I'm very glad to be able to show you the National Youth Administration's practical contribution to defense. Behind the tanks and planes which are in the front line of America's defense are the industrial workers who are forging the weapons needed by our armed forces. This is a story of youth and jobs, youth working in the defense of America. It's the story of the National Youth Administration, an agency which provides opportunities, which fits youth for jobs and for a place in the life of their country. Each morning, thousands of American youth, boys and girls of all races and creeds, swing into line to punch the time clock at hundreds of NYA work experience centers all over the nation. Give us the tools to do the job as they demand. At the toolroom window, and the morning's work is ready to begin. Each NYA shop is equipped with modern machinery so that youth workers will have the experience of working under actual industrial conditions. They learn the feel of machines, what it means to do a good day's work. From the time the wheels start turning in the morning until the day's work is done, each youth is intent on doing a job. Today, NYA work means more than fitting youth for jobs. It means preparation of workers to take their places in factories and foundries, in mills and in shops. We need experienced workers to produce the arms and supplies of the arsenal of democracy. NYA, through its program of practical work experience for youth, is helping to supply those experienced workers. In this work defense program, emphasis is being given to preparing youth for certain bottleneck defense industries. Youth are gaining experience in machine shops and sheet metal work, in welding and foundry work, in occupations essential to shipbuilding, radio, and aircraft manufacturing. Rudimentary experience in such jobs as die making is given. This is not mere practice work, but actual production. Every NYA shop is producing goods or articles for public agencies whose normal budgets would not permit their purchase. Communities all over the nation have thus benefited from NYA work. But production isn't limited to orders from local agencies.
And that's the end.